Okay, we can continue. The Patamba's quotation or advice, pith instruction, is fantastic. To truly practice and experience Dharma, truly practice and experience genuine, authentic Dharma, it is essential that you realize just how meaningless is everything in samsara. That is very important. Itching my heart now. Because we already studied samsaric connections, any kind of samsaric activity is everything is quite we can just say it's mostly meaningless. It's not very much meaningful. That means it's like very much harmful, and also it's like very much hurting. Not much useful benefit. It doesn't much bring happiness. And then if you really want truly practice, very important. Yesterday there is in the above mentioned very important is the truly to practice and not concerning this life. Like yesterday we are talking about any kind of periods you want to spend with the genuine Dharma or with Dharma, or like kind of spend with Dharma, or to do Dharma activities. It is very important to truly to do the Dharma activities. And then we can have perfect experience, inner development and inner realization. In the Buddhist path, Buddhist journey, we're talking about already 5 paths, at least 10 bhumi. Of course, there's more extraordinary achievement. And this one is like of course, there is no existence, some level of the beddings, like looks like when we are talking about Bhumi's path, looks like there's a staircase, step by step. Not like this. This is like kind of invisible inner experience of by the mind. And Dharma is, of course, explained externally, phenomena, appearances, inner perceiver of the mind, all the different perceptions or experience. Then it's like more, it is talking about the source, ground, nature of the phenomena, included the mind. And then we are experience real phenomena or the real things. When we are truly practice Dharma, we can experience truly relative truth, and through the truly experience of the relative truth, and we can also truly experience the ultimate truth. And therefore, very important, truly practice about the truth of the Dharma. And then it's like we can have inner experience, development. Sometimes ourselves, too difficult to see the development of the mind. If we ask, you studied all educational things, since or start you from the kindergarten until you finish it, PhD, I don't know, BHT or university finished. Maybe you study very well. You become the maybe very famous different subject. Maybe you choose science or astrology, cosmology, chemistry, engineer, it doesn't matter. And at that moment, everybody say you are doctor, Kembo, or teacher. Then you look at your minds. Where is those qualities? Which part of your mind in the brain? You can't see. I studied something like you pulled some education into the container of the mind. As much as you pull, that much you can to put. And how it is the fill up, where it is, we don't know. Certainly you need that naturally coming, because you put habitual tendencies and you experience, you truly to practice. Necessary times, it's naturally occurring. But before that says, you look how much I collected my qualities. And can you see through my collection of the qualities? Who can see it? No science, nothing. Maybe only someone has someone has become the master of the mind. Maybe they can to see them, otherwise impossible. Even ourselves, very difficult. But there is some feel. I can feel. I have naturally the experience, this genuine, authentic Dharma. Then we have our individual experience. That is, even we realize that our own true nature reality and self-recognize, self-experience, self-introduction, self-understood the self-nature. It is essential that you realize that just how meaningless is the everything in samsara. So if you do not practice truly the truth of Dharma, Then is we can to think about in the samsaric other task, which kind of meaningful. Most times in the worldly we have good education, very much tangible things, someone's hard work, according their own profession or the educations. Maybe they become very rich. You can just say, oh, your bank is full of money. And you have a lot of house. Oh yeah, these material things. And that is we can to see. See that is kind of, but that is like really it can bring to us happy, bring to us some meaningful, and this kind of things can bring to us some for the happiness for the future, or to have a guarantee happiness for the future. I don't think so. This is like kind of some visible things, okay. Maybe it is like kind of the more belief. But indirectly, the development of the mind, and also it's like kind of the cause and effect, causalities. It's a very inconceivable, difficult. But now may we look the more, and samsaric things are understood, some temporarily, some ultimately, is almost it is like not really meaningful. Like this, that I think, of course, this is not easy to give up, even though someone's sitting on the gold throne. The name of the high title may be still concerning the worldly. And of course someone is almost at nothing, beggar, no shelter, no food, no clothes, but also concerning the worldly. Everybody is of course concerning the samsaric things. But of course in the temporarily, okay, but also we now studied. Maybe someone's put a lot of effort. If this person hasn't got any past actions of the positive, it's difficult to result some happy, comfortable. But someone is not very much active, but naturally is comfortable, happy. And that is like obviously something is like the depends the cause. And also it's like there's quotation. You put effort the size of the mountain mirror, rather than that to the small sparkle of like a sparkle size of the accumulation merit, maybe more better than that. Maybe like this. And now we understood through the defects of the samsara, more and more we have a renunciation for the samsara, and also we understood more samsaric task is meaningless. Very important. The only way to develop that realization is this meditation and samsara's evil. And if we want to this kind of realization of the how it is the meaningless is everything in samsara, when we need this kind of experience, we need to realize that how we can to do through the development that realization is meditation on samsara evils. That means we're meditating on the defects of the samsara, realized defects of the samsara, samsaric evils. Reflect on it until you are deeply convinced that samsara is full of the sufferings. And one day, probably, when it's like we really fully to understand, we say samsara is the full of the sufferings. It's no need to someone to tell to us. Someone's not necessarily to bring to us into the samsara. Ourselves, we explored the samsara, experience the samsara, reflect on it, and we deeply to understand. Afterwards, we deeply convinced that samsara is really suffering. Then maybe we have determined mind to be free from the samsara and from the sufferings. And that is the most important thing. The sign of the meditation having truly taken root in you is to feel like Geshe Longri Tongpas. And Longri Tongpa is Geshe Putova's student. Very great Kadam practitioners. Very famous. He has almost an unhappy face all the time, showing the kind of side aggressive. Therefore, we call the black face of Longri Tongpa. Longri Tongpa, Geshe Longri Tongpa. Longri Tongpa, that like this kind of how he realized the suffering of the samsara. One day, one of his close attendants taught him, the others call you Longri Tongpa, gloomy face, like a kind of one welcome face. If you go to enter someone's house or room or place, if this person is not very happy, come, welcome. Maybe come like this. This sort of like kind of unhappy face, glooming face. And then he replied a wonderful way. How would my face be bright and cheery when I think about all the sufferings in the 3 words of samsara? The Geshe replied. There's one, I think, Jo Kadampa, Jo the Atisha or something. There's one the student visited him. This student comes from one monastery or another. There's one famous tree, another Geshe or like teacher. Then the monk, he visited this Lama to say, oh, you come from this monastery. There's 3 masters. What they doing is, one is he's like kind of hurry up to running after the monastery to like kind of develop the monastery, maybe something like this. Then these lamas, yeah. Other ones like collect some offering things, and then they're making like drawing or craft in the stone, the money, mantra, different like this. Then he said, yeah. Then I think it's Longpa. Longpa, what he's doing is, I don't know, but he every day to close his head and crying. And then this lamas, that's the really lamas. He's like kind of pump. Why he's crying and he's thinking about the suffering of in the three world realms, samsaras. And then he's like kind of the crying, but he's not really crying. He not say, I can't get coffee, I'm crying. I can't get tea, I'm crying. You didn't me show the nice fish, I'm crying. Not. Nothing concerning worldly, but the suffering of the samsaras. Then he said, what can I do? Like same as the Buddha, crying. What can I make liberation for those sufferings? Like this, he said, it's like how I can to become the cheerful mind, happy face. When I think about the suffering of the three words, the three word, you know, the word of the desire realms, the word of form realms, the word of the formless realms. This is the whole unique of the samsara. Because when we analyze the 6 realms, but the 6 realms habited or the dwell in the most in the desire realms. It's not other formless realms. When we already saw that in the form realms, formless realms, it is not there is like kind of the direct or the fully suffering of the samsaric things. Like kind of the representative, because someone's reborn in the form realms, formless realms, by the positive things. Of course, when they exhaust this course of their rebirth, they kind of same as a similarity when we wake up. Then it's the kind of the falling into the samsara. And in this area of the upper 2 realms, it's a little bit maybe different, the 6 realms. But we call the samsara. Then I think it's 3 realms is included in the samsara. When you look at this picture of the samsaric, this one, and in the Yamantaka's hand or mouth, there's entered this 32 or the 6 divine word desire. But also the top of that formless realms there is. And in this perspective, you call the samsara is like this inside. In the like 5-folder wheel, this I think inside included form realms, formless, like the above of the 6 divine worldly desires, and also 6 divine desire realms. Also, sometimes we add half of the demigod. Then there is this five-fold wheel of the samsaras. Like this is three word. And sometimes 3 word or 3 realms. Yeah, these 3 are constant, yes. Sometimes Dongsen is like a 3 like 3,000. 3,000, the word of the 3,000. And like this is like kind of counting in the our realms, like first 1,000, second 1,000, third 1,000. It's like our enter our fans around. And when we counted this into this one, first 1,000 means first in the circle, like ring inside. First 1,000 means inside there is like 1,000 of the same as our cosmology. Same as our cosmology is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1,000. This is first inner ring road of the first cycle. And then the second in the middle, this 1,000 you are counting in the 1,000, and then there's the second in the ring inside. And then is a third one is like this 1,000 you counting the 1,000, and then it's like this is the 3, the word of the 3,000. This one is the size of the Pure Land of the Buddha Shakyamuni. Then it's like I think science is difficult to look at where is the Mount Imuro, where is the like kind of really in the furthermore, and difficult to see the circle means it's like after this 3 ring road, then there is the wall. And at the inside of the water, outside is the fire. And then it's like they burn it. Then furthermore that there's maybe another word, but this is our really universal. And this in the space, according the galaxy or airs moving, a lot of produce water. Sometimes water is very heavy. Water can to fill up this small container universal. But the last this cycle ring road backside is there's such round fire. It's like kind of the evaporating most waters. Inconceivable. But here this is the desire realm, formless realms, these 3 words of the samsara. The Geshe replied, it is said that Longri Tompa only ever smiled once. Once he smiled, ha. He saw a mouse trying to move a torque that was in his mandala. What happened is why he need to laughing. But the mouse could not lift the jewel, could not leave the jewel on its own self. It's truly like they do. And the first mouse saw that this turquoise want to take away, but impossible. So he called to the others, tick, 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 tick. They do. I was in the campus, now in Jigme, this. I have this wood, you can look at this wood. They are really like a human. Every night they are like making noise. Difficult to sleep. One night I closed it very purposely, and then when I start turn light off, and then another mouse is coming and running. Then it's also inside also sound. And then I turn off light and they run away. Just turn off the light immediately. He's go to near the wood, like kind of how to say, in the door. And then suddenly one night he tried to break. And he break, and inside something makes sound. Then I make noise, and the other will run. Then I slowly listened. Inside there's one mouse. And they come back. How is his sound? And say, now you try. I will try. So both sides, they like kind of break the wood, try to get. And then I opened, and slowly I watch. And then, of course, one thief is like coming back. And the air is like, come back there. Then he went inside and says, now you, okay, come, let's go, you're prisoners. And then he took out and ran away. It's amazing, it's mouse. And also, there's a very funny thing. They call the Sonia, yes? One is like, and sometimes they climb that times. When this side the window, half is open, climb through the half of the windows, and to look ahead is like, am I sleepy or not? And I am kind of sleepy. He jumping inside, coming. Once I was near there is making very strange sound, and he like until he ran. I don't know. Like this, mouse is like this. But he thought it's maybe very special. And another mouse come alone too. One mouse pushed the turquoise behind maybe, while the other pulled. That made laughing. The lonely tomba smiled. And he thought, wow, it's like animals like this. Now it's like really they are cooperating together. That is not really only that. Most times animals, inconceivable. It is like really, they are like kind of animals, but like human they do. When some birds make a nest, very funny nest, and also they're like more intelligent than human beings. And some fishes to make a drawing on the sand in the water. It's like even you are measure, like to really, like when drawing is almost impossible. One fish to run, to make mandala. Like this kind of inconceivable, then he's like smiled. It's very funny. That once in his life, why he cannot to smile, he understood the suffering of the samsara. He wanted to think and like practice. I think he's the most great practitioner of the compassion. And this meditation on the sufferings of the samsara is the base and support for all the good qualities of the path. And like when we are reflecting or meditate on the suffering of the samsaras, we have more notion of the samsaric sufferings. Then we have more enthusiastic to practice Dharma, more interest to enter into the Dharma. And naturally, spontaneously, our mind goes towards to the Dharma. Therefore, we say it's like the basis is support for all the good qualities of the path, and it's like the path of the Dharma. It's a very important. It turns your mind towards to Dharma. Absolutely, if you more analyze the defects of the samsaras, you more interest to practice Dharma. If you more to study Dharma, and you want to more freedom from the samsara, you want make free from the other sentient beings. When you are analyze more defects of the samsaras, your compassion is automatically grow up, naturally grow up. Because when we see the suffering sentient beings, it can move your mind. Really, really it should. I make joke, Of course, difficult to say this time is in America, this turmoil. Why the police killed the black guy? I was just like a little bit unhappy. Really, he's very ugly to kill. The demonstration is occurring. I thought, yes. And then it's last, there are many destroyed. Then is army, police come. I thought maybe there now big disaster things happen. And this is the national guardian of the army, soldiers. I don't know, it is generally when you see the soldiers, there's a war, we don't need wars. But then it's like the front of the, I don't know how many soldiers that they say, soldiers front, there's one black lady, she says, government bad, police bad, you are bad, who you are. You never say like sorry, you all the times do like. Then their armies, they don't reply nothing. And you never say sorry. So the one is the army say, very sorry. Liar. If you are really to want to say sorry, then you should to front of me, you should knees. And I don't know how many there is the soldiers. Everybody's knees to the front of those black people's group. It's kind of the making the tear wonderful. And of course they don't need to put knees, but the humility to respect. And the kind of the concern is, of course, this black guy is suffering. Whole family is suffering. He has a doctor. Of course, maybe the policy is bad, but maybe some accident. And also police has a responsibility. Of course, some other countries, they never ever do like this. And then it's like kind of a little bit kind of moved your mind. It's like this. It's not necessarily, but it's like kind of, it make kind of small things happy. Therefore, it's like when we are more concerned with the samsara sufferings, and then it's like you yourself or ourselves to be happy or not happy, not very much need to concern. How many sentient beings sufferings? And then there's something you need to do benefit. You immediately, voluntarily, you have this feeling. This feeling is a compassion. This feeling is the really mind of the enlightenment. This feeling to want to do something, benefit for them. This is the really pure mind, like warm-hearted mind. This mind can purify our obscuration. It's this kind of mind is to lead to us or live up our path and bhumis. And therefore, we need reflect on the defects of the samsara. And when we more and reflect or investigate the defects of the samsara, suffering of the sentient beings, and losing the self-concerning, self-interest, and only the thinking the global suffering sentient beings. Coding this feeling, coding this notion, coding these realizations, is kind of the mind become more clearly, more sharp. And in that perspective, also the realization of the empty natures naturally occurring. Maybe you don't need to specifically to meditate on the focus of the empty nature. In the Shantadevas, in the Buddhacharyavatara, the last chapter 6, the wisdom chapter say, if you want to fathom or to check how is your realization of the emptiness, you need to check your compassion. If your compassion is grow up, that means you are realizing the empty nature, wisdom. If your emptiness, the development of the compassions is really to develop or not, you need to look at the realization of the empty nature of the wisdoms. You understand more, your compassions naturally occurring, automatically, without a kind of developing or nothing. You deeply to understand empty nature of the wisdoms, compassion is naturally occurring. They are kind of the linked, absolutely. And therefore, if you are reflect on the defects of the samsara, then your mind is turned towards, or it's like a turn your mind towards to the Dharma, and your mind is determination, want to be free from the samsaras. And also it's like our enlightenment. If you more reflect in the samsaric defects of the sufferings, and you want to do something benefit for them, then you say it's like, in order to do some benefit for them, you should become the powerful, like a powerful same as the Buddha. Then you say, yes, I want to become quickly, as soon as possible. And why you say you want to become the son of Buddha? Because of the benefit others. Not kind of, I will be free from the suffering. I will become very nice. I may become enlightenment. Not like this. Benefit for other sentient beings. Then you also like to quickly to practice, study, apply your own path very fast, quickly. Of course, there's such a benefit. You become enlightenment. You can to lead limitless sentient beings. Benefit. Like this, it gives you confidence in the principle of the cause and effect. In all your actions, absolutely. Like when we are more reflect on the defects of the samsara, or the suffering of the samsaras, then you have a faith, devotion, trust, and confidence in the principle of the cause and effect. In the samsaric, whatever occurring things absolutely connect to the causalities, cause and effect. And then is your mind have notion of the right or wrong. Mind has knowledge of the what is right or wrong. And of course, mind has really fully, perfectly confidence, faith, trust into the causalities. And then it's like you do something is against the causalities. Your mind is pain. Your mind is unhappy. And really it's like if you are not doing any kind of positive things, you yourself is kind of the complaint. You do small least negative things, you big regret, commitment, never do again. Because you believe then it's like naturally you are the authentic. You are the protector for the other sentient beings. You hurt one insect, one animal or beings, you have kind of the inner, like kind of the needle, and like kind of it's making pain your mind. That is your compassion. That is the realization. And that is the wonderful. If you have this kind of notion, sanity, I don't know, proof, confidence, realization, wow, you are the really authentic. All beings can take refuge into you. All beings follow you. You never cheat to them. You never insult them. You never kind of hurting to them. You all the time respect to them. Fully, entirely. Maybe you are not realization. You are not yet Buddha. But your mind is almost reached already Buddha. Of course, there's still you need to some apply it. But based in the beginning, like this, you are the wonderful. You be in the middle of the sentient beings. You are like coming out, like sun and the moon. Sun and the moon, and the moving in the star, they are very specially we come to see. Like this, you are the compassionate and understander, or the realizer of the samsaric defects. You concerning the suffering sentient beings, you want to liberate to them. This is kind of carrier of the great attitude, great conduct. You are the noble, you are the jewel, you are the holiness. That is the naturally. Then you have such a confidence in the particular cause and fact, the algorithm. It makes you turn away from the goal of this life. And goal of this life. And it makes you feel love and compassion for all beings. It makes you turn away from the goal of this life. Maybe it is like I want to become rich. That is my goal. I want to become popularity. That is my goal. I want to become healthy, wealthy, worldly concerning things. And now you realize that the defects of the samsara, suffering of the sentient beings. Your mind is completely turned away from the concerning or the goal of in this life. Only you concerning one goal is want to be enlightenment, benefit for other sentient beings. Also you say make your feel more love to the other sentient beings, more compassionate to the other sentient beings. And there is like your compassion is not really partiality. Impartially, your love. Your love is impartiality. Your compassion is impartiality. Impartial compassion is such a benefit for all the sentient beings. Wonderful. Absolutely good. The Buddha himself pointed out how important it is to recognize suffering and started each of the teachings of the three turning of the wheel of Dharma with this word, monks, this life is suffering. And the first time is when he became enlightenment in the Bodh Gaya, under the below of the Bodhi tree. And he said, I discovered some very special in my mind. I want to tell you this. Of course, then he taught first these 5 disciples. In Varanasi they went. And he started the teaching the truth of the sufferings. This is the first himself point out. Very, very important it is. You should realize the sufferings, recognize the suffering. You need to understand the sufferings. Maybe you can to say, why ask? Maybe we ask, or someone asked the Buddha, why are you talking about first sufferings? Because you be enlightenment, you should to talk about your happiness of the enlightenment. Buddha say maybe, yes, but not like this. In order to abandon the cause of the sufferings, or in order to purify the sufferings, first you need to recognize the suffering itself. And this, in the present moment, when you have sufferings, that moment immediately to make liberate, or to get rid of the sufferings, it's not easy. It's not kind of this case. When you recognize the sufferings, then you automatically think in the truth of the origination. And then you recognize the origination and the sufferings. Then you more thinking about cessation of suffering originations. If you deleted the origination for the sufferings, then the suffering is disappeared. Suffering is cessated. And then is how you can abandon the cause, the truth of the origination, the truth of sufferings. You understood when there is no anymore result of suffering, no anymore there is the cause of the suffering, which is the truth of originations. Wonderful. This is the truth of the cessation, and to stop the kind of the sufferings or the enlightenment. Then you say, how I will become free from the cause of suffering and the result of sufferings. And then you need to path, remedy, treatment. That is the path, truth of path. Therefore, first time he taught about the Four Noble Truths, but at the first point is he talked about the sufferings. Start each of the teachings of the 3 training of the wills. And these 3 training of the will. First, Four Noble Truths. And second is Pajin Paramata. And last one is there's the teaching of the heart core, like Uttartanta, talking Buddha nature. But the first is the will of Dharma. It is the Four Noble Truths. And then in this among of the truths, and the first is the truth of the sufferings. Therefore, it is most important for us, in order to practice Dharma, in order to study Dharma, in order to go to solitude place or something, we should analyze or to check out the suffering of the samsara. And we realize that our own suffering, other suffering, or the samsaric sufferings, then there's determined mind, renounced mind, and wanted mind. Very much eager desire, want to practice Dharma. And it's not kind of the murky Dharma, hardcore Dharma. Deeply in our minds want to practice Dharma. It's question times. Or we want to finish it today. Okay, they're wonderful, like kind of the realization of the samsaric defects. And wonderful. And therefore it says, okay, I want the last can read for you. Put into practice until you become completely convinced and certain of it, about the samsaric defects, samsaric situation. Fully, entirely, you realize it, situation of the samsara. And then it's maybe generating bodhicitta and to meditate on the non-conceptualization, great compassion, generosity of the dedications naturally occurring in your daily life. And then so wonderful. Okay, thank you. Now it's a question? Maybe no question. How many? 3. Okay, la. Lasso la. I'm cold.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Irina Timochenko has one question. Rinpoche, if you say that pleasant feelings are nirvana, does that mean that God's realm is nirvana?
Yes, Lord, this is a temporary nirvana. It's not ultimate nirvana. Yeah.
Thank you. Agata from Poland has 2 questions. First, is it okay to make short nundro practice during the week without long mantra recitation and longer accumulation of mantra during the practice of the weekend?
Yes.
Could you explain in short nundro, poa, what to visualize during the 3 syllables a in the recitation? The explanation for long nundro says about tingal and the syllable shri.
Yes, to practice a short nundro longer in the weekend is very good. In the short nundro there is the poa part, and there's one verse like a kind of the demonstrating all the explanation of the poa. Of course, if you more elaborate explanation follow up the poa, there's 5 different type of the poas. But there's last one is like 3 metaphors in poa, like concerning your consciousness as the traveler, and your central channel is the path how you can to travel through the abitam, the Pure Land, or it's the become the son of the Buddha Amitabha, and the heart of the Buddha Amitabha, and that is your destination. And generally it's like last there is, you say is 3 means when you are transferring your consciousness into the heart of the Amitabha's heart, then you mixed like unified it, and then it's like to making the more stable, unchangeable, making the kind of the seal by these 3 A's. And therefore is A is the seal of the Dharmakaya, A is the seal of the Sambhogakaya, A is the seal of the Nirmanakaya.
Thank you. Sophia from St. Petersburg, she asks, Rinpoche, you said that the best antidote to the disturbing emotions are the disturbing emotions themselves. Anger destroys anger, desire destroys desire, and so on. There are similar words in the text Manjushri Nama Samgati, the
Tunga?
great offering.
Lama?
Nama Samgiti, a
Okay,
text
okay.
of Manjushri.
Mm-mm.
The great offering is the great stupidity that destroys the stupid mind by stupidity. The great offering is the great rage that is the great enemy of the big rage. The great offering is the great attachment that destroys any attachment. I do not quite understand it. Could you please explain?
Yes, they are same. And maybe you can try, okay? When you are very much angry, you don't think about who is disturbed to you. In that moment, your mindfulness to look at anger. Anger's look anger, anger's searching anger, anger's chasing anger. Then is how it works. And can you tell me that experience? Once you do what you have experienced, then you can tell me it is really true or not. Anger's antidote, take the anger itself, and then is there the self-liberation is there or not. Can you try? If without you try, you just say, I don't understand. And maybe someone's to provoke to you. Maybe your angry times, normally, of cannot say it. But anger, jealousy, proud, arrogant, disattachment, any kind of disturbing emotions, can you apply? Then you make more caution. And other? That's all. One question. Okay.
Sorry, yes, thank you. Oleg Kunchok, he asks, what is the difference between Russia and Western minds on a relative level?
Masha?
He asks, what's the difference between the Russian and Western mind on the relative level?
Russia.
Russian.
Uh-huh. Ask to the Russian and ask to the Western people. You don't ask me. Or maybe you can ask to China. Okay. Hyonja semencho rambo je ma ye panama sho Sanjane ba jene ba nyarda nele tajar Drova ne na malu ba ta den jo ame bar Manan ta dan den ba don song a de jen de ba Kandru sanbo la so ba ni je san dong dan jer ji Cong dong lao song me xiang la ji pen ze la ye da xi ni jer De le san ba ye yan zhe par dong ce ren ne me de xue den ba shui Gong ri ra ri go ru xin gang se pen dong de wai ma lin zhong wen Xian ren zhen wan dan zeng jiang cu ye xia bi sen ti par de dan jir ji Par dan la mi ge se dan ba dong ke nian ma yong la de xin zhong wan Dao yan ma li cu se zhi yong ni nier de song Sa lan gu ba xiu xie wai gan de yong de la ma dong zhe mi qu ji pa la long xue Sa dong lam je yang dan ra zo ni dor jian chong ge gong pong nier tui shui Kamarare marme to yemara asava chebar to malama long to tum ta pun du yi chu nam